Thank you, Madam Chair. Put that up right quick for me. Madam Secretary, does the administration support, if you know, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve?
Yes.
Okay. We've got a lot of vacancies at the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and if you look at the website, I know this isn't you just got there, but the website says this page was last updated on December 15, 2017.
Wow.
Could you take a look at that for me?
Yes, I certainly will.
My understanding is that they're understaffed there. I've watched you, Madam Secretary, for years on television before you became Secretary. You're very intelligent, and even though I don't always agree with you, you make very cogent arguments. Does your proposed budget include money for geoengineering?
No.
How come?
Well, it's not been a solution that I don't think it does. No, it does not. I think we want to address and mitigate as best we can, adapt where we can, but we don't have geoengineering as part of our budget.
But if there's geoengineering, my understanding of it, it's global cooling. There are things we can do to cool the Earth that have based on science. And cloud whitening, for example, that's just one. It would just seem to me, and there's a whole science out there. There's a lot of private dollars and R&D being spent on geoengineering, and if there's a way to cool the Earth without, let's say, destroying the fossil fuel industry, why wouldn't we want to pursue that? If the objective is to reduce temperatures,
we are interested in all kinds of technologies to be able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to reduce our warming. But I will say, and I wanted to say this to you when you had the first engagement with me, that this administration is interested in carbon capture, use and sequestration, is interested in hydrogen, is interested in direct air capture, is interested in controlling or managing the emissions off of fossil fuels. So I just want you to understand that we are there with you on that.
Yes, and I know you're being truthful and accurate, but there are a lot of members of the administration, I think, that don't see the climate as a discrete scientific problem. They see it as a religion, and they see it as a vehicle through which they can remake American society. And I think they're approaching the issue with more zeal than wisdom. I believe in metrics. I believe in the prudent allocation of scarce resources. You know what I'm talking about. Governors have to balance their budgets. And I believe in metrics. And if we're going to spend, I don't know how many squillion dollars the president lately wants to spend on that we don't have even 5% of, on the environment. And I believe in the environment. We all do. We all want clean air and bright water. But at some point you have to judge the expenditure of taxpayer dollars with metrics. And what I worry about is that we're going to turn the American economy upside down. We're going to turn a lot of American lives upside down. We're going to make them a bunch of promises, just like we made them promises with globalization. Don't worry, your life will be better. And think about that when you're in the unemployment line. That's what we told a lot of Americans. That we're going to do this without a big picture in terms of where we're going to end up. Toward that end, let me ask you this question. If you know, and maybe the Undersecretary knows if you don't, because I know you can't know everything, tell me 5 concrete steps that India is taking today to reduce its CO2 emissions.
Well, India is looking at wind, looking at solar, looking at hydrogen, looking at carbon capture, and is trying to replace its coal with natural gas.
I know they're looking at all that stuff. President Xi says they're looking at it too, as he continually builds.
Well, no, they are deploying. Excuse me, friend. I don't mean to interrupt you, but they are deploying those methods, including distributed strategies, like we were discussing, where they don't have to have the grid, but some kind of distributed microgrid.
How much money did Modi spend last year in India?
I don't know.
To reduce CO2 emissions?
I don't know, sir. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. It was under $1 billion, wasn't it?
I don't know the answer.
Okay. What you do is what you believe. Everything else is just conversation. And that's what worries me about this whole approach. Of course, President Xi and Mr. Modi are going to say the right things. But you have to judge people by what they do. And I asked our EPA administrator a few months ago, maybe weeks ago, time kind of runs together. I said, if we pass the president's infrastructure bill, only 5% of which is true traditional infrastructure, the rest is the Green New Deal and other things, how much is it going to reduce CO2 emissions in the world? And he couldn't answer that question. So we're going to spend, how many trillions of dollars, and we don't know what the end game is? That's my problem.
We spent, I believe, $90 billion last year cleaning up after these extreme weather events. So if we don't take action, it will be far more expensive as these events escalate. I would also say that there is a $23 trillion global market for the products that reduce CO2 emissions, $23 trillion.
Right.
And the question is, are we going to take advantage of that? Can we create economic opportunity for the people who work in the fossil fuel industry to be able to create Energy 2.0 by managing the emissions?
And look, you make very good points, but here's my point. President Biden, I'm going to say it again, President Biden, what's the latest cost of his infrastructure bill? $2.5 trillion?
1.3, I think is what you're negotiating.
Let's call it $2 trillion, to be fair. President Biden says spend $2 trillion. A big chunk of that is the Green New Deal. And my question is very simple. If we spend this money to reduce CO2 emissions, how much is going to be reduced worldwide? Doesn't matter in the United States. It matters worldwide. And we ought to have an answer to that.
The entire world has signed on to the agreement in Paris.
The entire world's not spending $2 trillion.
The entire world is spending more than that.
The entire world is not. Most of this is lip service. You and I both know it.
That's not what we're seeing. I agree that we have to verify and that we have to make sure that people are living up to their commitments. And that's what these agreements are all about. But I understand your skepticism because you have to verify.
Yes, ma'am. And what I've verified is that we're being asked to spend $2 trillion, and the world's biggest emitter of CO2 is China. The third biggest is India. And their attitude seems to be, go get them. We'll hold your coat while you do that. Meanwhile, President Xi keeps building power plants fueled by coal. And he's been known to reside on the scarce side of being honest. I went way over. I'm in big trouble. I'm sorry.
Thank